Title: If the attic light flickers 3 times, someone in the house must die before sunrise. I didn't believe the old woman when she told us the rules. We just moved into the creaking Victorian house on Maplewood Lane, nestled deep in a town no one could pronounce without getting it wrong. My wife loved the antique banisters and clawfoot tubs. I loved the price. It was the kind of house you'd assume had a story, but we weren't the types to believe in those. Not until the first night. It was around 2:17 a.m. when I heard the buzzing. A low electrical hum that pressed against the edges of my sleep like a mosquito circling my ear. I turned to see my wife was still asleep. The sound wasn't coming from our bedroom, it was distant, metallic, rhythmic. I followed it, barefoot and half asleep, up the stairs to the attic door. The hum intensified. The light above the attic, an ancient, dust-caked bulb encased in a wire cage, flickered once. Then twice. Then a third time. I don't know why my heart sank. Maybe it was the way the air thickened, like the house was holding its breath. Maybe it was instinct. Or maybe it was the voice I heard behind me, a whisper that didn't move air but moved thought. Someone must die. I turned, but no one was there. That was the first time. The morning came without tragedy, but something in the house had changed. Doors groaned when they hadn't before. The pipes hissed like angry voices in the walls. My wife said she felt watched, especially near the attic stairs. We should have left then. But moving is expensive, and bad dreams are easy to blame on old insulation and creaky floors. The second time the attic light flickered 3 times, it was a month later. We'd just come home from dinner. My wife was humming, pouring wine. I walked past the staircase when I heard it again, that awful, electric hum. It was louder this time. I looked up. The light pulsed once. Twice. 3 times. And then a scream. It didn't come from upstairs. It came from the basement, where my brother had been staying with us since his divorce. I ran down to find him slumped against the washer, a length of pipe jammed through his abdomen, his face frozen in shock. The police ruled it an accident. Slipped and fell. Maybe drunk. But I knew. The house had warned us. And we didn't obey. I started researching then. Old records. News clippings. Police reports. Every family who lived here had faced the same fate. The light in the attic, always 3 flickers. Always followed by death. One report from 1963 mentioned an entire family burning in their sleep after ignoring the flickers. Another from 1981, a father who reportedly lost his mind and drowned his children in the pond out back before hanging himself in the attic. The flickers always came first. The rule was clear now. If the light flickers 3 times, someone must die before sunrise, or the house will choose. And its choices are never kind. The third time happened just last week. This time, I was ready. When the light pulsed 3 times, I didn't hesitate. I held the knife in my trembling hand and stared at my reflection in the window. My wife had just come home from the grocery store. She didn't know yet. But if I didn't, if I waited too long, we both might die. Or worse. Because sometimes death is the kindest thing this house offers. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't kill her. I waited. I watched the clock tick past midnight. Then 1. 2. And when the sky started to lighten with the first hints of morning, I thought maybe, just maybe the curse was broken. That's when I heard the scream. Not from her. From me. Because I was staring into her eyes, and they weren't hers anymore. The thing inside her smiled, and in its mouth, I saw hundreds of teeth like rusted nails. She whispered, "The house made its choice. Now, I live alone." I tell myself she's gone. That whatever wears her face isn't truly her. I keep to the rules. I've sealed off the attic. I check the bulb every night. I sleep with weapons beneath my pillow. And I pray the light never flickers again. Because next time, I don't think the house will wait. It's already hungry. The air felt heavier than it had moments before. Not just humid or stagnant, but thick, like something invisible had seeped into the house, saturating the walls and floorboards with dread. I could feel it pressing against my skin, whispering into my ears without a sound. Somewhere upstairs, the light in the attic buzzed, once, twice, a faint flicker. But not the third time. Not yet. The game had already started, and we were too late to back out. My sister Rachel had gone quiet. She stared up at the ceiling like she could see straight through it, her eyes wide and unblinking. Her lips moved, barely, like she was counting something silently in her head. I grabbed her hand, cold, trembling, and asked her what she was doing. 27 minutes, she said. That's how long it took the first time. First time? I didn't even know there had been a first time. She had never told me. The hallway stretched longer than it should have as we climbed the stairs. The lights above us flickered in sympathy with the attic bulb. Not 3 times, not yet. I could feel it watching, whatever it was, waiting for the right moment. Not for us to make a mistake, no. It wanted us to follow the rules exactly. It fed on that. On obedience. On inevitability. Halfway up, the house groaned. It was more than the usual settling of wood, it sounded like a breath. A long, drawn-in inhalation. Like the walls themselves were preparing to speak. Rachel stopped, one foot hovering over the next step, and turned to me with tears in her eyes. "If the light flickers again," she said, "we have until dawn. You understand? Until dawn." When we reached the top floor, the attic door was already cracked open. A pale sliver of light shone through the gap, shimmering like heat waves. It didn't behave like normal light, it shimmered too fast, too erratically, like it was underwater. I didn't want to look, but I did. Inside the attic, something moved. Not walked, moved. It didn't have the cadence of footsteps, or the sound of weight pressing on floorboards. It was more like sliding. A shift in shadow. A knot of blackness that absorbed the flickering light. "Who dies?" I whispered. It was the first time I let myself ask it. Rachel didn't answer. She only glanced toward the attic again and muttered, "It chooses. It always chooses." Suddenly, the attic light blinked, once. The room dimmed. We backed away. A long pause. Then, twice. A gust of cold air shot down the hallway as if exhaled by the house itself. The third flicker didn't come right away, but when it did, it lasted longer than the others. A long, pulsing strobe of white that cast harsh shadows along the walls. In that moment, we saw it fully for the first time. It stood in the attic doorway, crouched but tall, easily over 7 feet if it had stood straight. Its limbs were too thin, too long, and bent the wrong way. Its skin looked waxy and wet, glistening in the flicker of the attic bulb. Where its face should have been was only a flat, stretched expanse of skin, like parchment pulled tight. But beneath that skin, things moved, eyes, maybe. Or something worse. And it pointed. Not at me. Not at Rachel. At the end of the hallway, where my mother's room was. I shouted for her, but no voice came out. Rachel grabbed my arm and yanked me backward into the bathroom, slamming the door and locking it. We huddled in the bathtub, clutching each other like children. Outside, we heard it moving, not footsteps. Never footsteps. Just the sound of air displacing, like a massive eel gliding through water. There was a scream. A single scream that cut off too quickly. And then silence. The attic light stopped flickering. Dawn came slowly. Too slowly. I opened the bathroom door sometime after 6 a.m. and stepped into the hallway. The attic door was shut. The bulb inside was dark. My mother's door hung open. We never found her. No blood. No sign of struggle. Just the faint smell of ozone and something sweet, rotten sweet. Like overripe fruit left to decay in a sealed jar. That was last week. The attic light hasn't flickered again. But I can feel the house watching. Listening. Waiting. Because once you've played the game, you're part of it. Forever. And it never forgets who survived. The silence that followed was not comforting, it was absolute. An unnatural stillness that coated the walls of the house like rot, thick and invisible but inescapably present. I could feel it crawling beneath my skin, worming its way into my thoughts like the beginnings of madness. I no longer saw the house the same way. The chipped paint, the old floorboards, the ceiling fan that never worked, each had become part of something far more malignant, a shell for a being that thrives on patterns, sacrifice, and memory. It's strange what you remember in those moments where death should have claimed you but didn't. I recalled the way my mother used to hum under her breath when cleaning, how the corners of the attic would always grow colder just before the light flickered. I remembered my brother, slumped in the bathtub, water turning red, the light from above flashing 1, 2, 3 times. That night I did nothing. That night I let the house take him. I didn't understand the rules then. But now I do, and so does it. I tried to leave, of course. The next day I packed a bag and walked right out the front door. But the world had changed. It wasn't just the house. The flickering followed me, to hotel rooms, to my cousin's apartment, to the stranger's basement I rented for a week. The attic light existed wherever I laid my head down. Even if the ceiling held no bulb, the light would flicker, always 3 times. I understood then that it was not the house. It was me. The survivor is the beacon. That winter, A girl I dated briefly vanished from her apartment after spending a single night with me. Her roommate described a humming light and a presence that entered the room like a draft, but no windows were open. Another time, a man knocked at my motel door, sobbing and begging me to take it back. He had seen it, he said. Seen the attic materialize in the corner of his eyes. His skin peeled like it was sunburned from within. I told him what I knew: don't stay anywhere longer than one night. Don't look up when it flickers. And whatever you do, don't ignore it. But he didn't listen. None of them do. The static that fills your ears when you're half asleep, the chill that runs through your chest for no reason, the inexplicable feeling of being watched even in a crowd, those are the warnings. But once you've felt its breath on your neck, there is no return. The house comes with you. And if the attic light flickers 3 times, someone, somewhere near you must die before sunrise, or it will choose for you. I live in motion. I drift like a fugitive, never touching anything too long, never loving, never hoping. But it's getting harder. I'm older. Slower. And it is patient. It remembers the ones who defied its rhythm. It doesn't forgive. I've come to see it for what it is, not a monster with claws or fangs. It's an idea. An ancient, pulsing hunger built into the wood of old houses and the quiet parts of night. It doesn't knock. It flickers. The last time I tried to hide, I buried the light bulb from my room in the woods. I didn't screw in another one. For days, I sat in darkness. And then, one evening, the air flickered, without wires, without glass, without anything that should have lit. 3 times. No bulb, no lamp. Just light. And in that silent brilliance, I saw the attic door appear, carved into the air above me like a wound. Now, I hear its creak in every wind. The crawl of its limbs across ceilings that shouldn't exist. And worst of all, I know I'm not the last. The rules will spread again. The story will be told in whispers, late at night, by someone who barely survived. And when they pass the tale along, whether in warning or regret, the house will find another foothold. Another soul to latch to. So, if you're reading this, remember, the flicker is not a trick of the eye. The attic is not always above you, it can be behind, within, beneath. And when the light pulses 3 times, you will know. You will feel it watching. And by then, you will already be part of its story. And it always, always finishes the story.